might catch me howling at the moon. Tryna catch me howling at the moon.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 4 of the Drug Squadcast podcast. The podcast in which we talk all things addiction, where the gloves are off. A bit like Amir Khan wishes last night his were off. So yeah, my name's Kieran. I'm, as always, joined by Pete and Sam. So guys, how's things?
Yeah, good.
How's life?
All good, mate. Yeah.
Yes, lost 2 stone.
Oh yeah, you mentioned it.
That's what you asked me. Yeah, I've been waiting set for a while. 2 stone, £2 actually, but yeah.
Is that just from going to the gym?
Yeah, well, I've changed my diet up. I've got out of this sugar. I ain't took no drugs to lose weight.
Yeah.
That's how I used to lose a bit of weight. But yeah, I've changed my diet, changed my training a little bit. So good what? It's about 4 minutes.
Yeah, I think you look the same still.
Fuck off. Well, I was just under 17 stone before. I'm 14.9 today.
That's not
I
too
won't put
bad.
my height in. This week is still fat.
How's things for you, Sam? Alright?
All good, yeah. In the process of new jobs and stuff like that, so that's all good.
Oh, you've had a change in your job, haven't you?
Yeah, I had a change in my job, but do you know what? I'm excited about the project more than anything else. Do you know what I mean? Which is
It's not like you just get a new job.
I love a new job. Do you know what? I always said it the other day. I actually hate working. I don't know who likes to work.
At least it shows you've worked for a long period of time.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, work's important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Today we're going to be meeting Jason, which we'll touch upon in a bit, but before we get into it, we just want to give you guys a bit of a quick update on where we are as a project.
Yeah.
So as we spoke about previously, we have, the plan is to be up and running in July, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where we will have our accommodation for people to come and stay with us, and we'll also have our venue in the city centre, Coventry,
April.
in April.
We're planning for
But
April.
that's where we're hoping it will be open, although we may reconsider and make it so it coincides with the opening of the house, because that's where the residents will be coming for our day programme. So plans are really progressing nicely, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's the first time wearing these smart polo shirts on the podcast as well.
Yeah, Dynamo Project ones. They can see that. You can't see Pete, he's got his gilet on.
I don't get it where I'm from. I don't get it. I've got it on, man. New mics, so you can hear me.
Yeah, so we've had a few reports that Pete is very softly spoken, so we've got 2 mics now, but we're hoping that will have a good effect on the sound, because obviously the sound is of the utmost importance, so you guys can hear what we're saying. So the project is looking really good. I'm very optimistic. So the plan is for me personally that I'll be leaving my job in April, where I'll be going full time into the project, and with you 2 guys to follow a little bit after.
As and when,
Yeah. So hopefully that once the houses are open, we've got our day program up and running. We'll hopefully make a small difference in a big problem, I believe.
Yeah.
Or a big difference in a small city.
The first podcast with Michelle, I think went down really well.
Amazing.
I thought Michelle was a brilliant guest.
Michelle's great, man.
I loved the way she was honest and open. I really enjoyed listening back to it, and I think it was a good start for us moving forward. So how do you guys find it with Michelle? Do you enjoy it?
Michelle's great.
Yeah.
We've known Michelle for a few years between us each. Michelle's work that she does in the city with the females and not just females, but with recovery and with people who are homeless and stuff. I mean, I follow a lot of her stuff on Facebook. It's amazing, man. To have her come onto the podcast, the first guest, I thought it was great.
And I thought it was important to get a female on. I think that worked really well.
And it was really honest, you know, like that's what people don't hear enough of. Do you know what I mean? People that have come from where she's come from and now look at her life today. Do you know what I mean? No one really sees that. Like you say, you never see them people get clean from where you're from. Do you know what I mean?
I'm from a council estate. No one gets clean. No one talks about getting clean. People either die, they get sent to prison, in and out of prison, or even worse, they live with this stuff forever, and then they live a miserable existence, and they die of it anyway.
And we're fortunate that we know people that have got clean.
Many people
will lead us on to today's guest, Jason. Before we bring Jason on, I'm not going to introduce him. What we'll do is we've got a short video clip that you guys can see now, and that should do the talking for us. So we'll let that play.
Mr. Jason Turner, for services to those with substance and criminal justice issues.
Investitures are traditional, and I'm always absolutely fascinated by the people who come and all the things that they've done.
I think one of the most important aspects of an investiture is to be able to reward in a suitable way the selfless service and dedication of so many of these remarkable people.
When talking with the recipients at these investitures, I'm reminded of all of the great things that they have done to earn their awards, the long service that they have given throughout their working lives, the considerable achievements they have reached, and the selfless commitments they have made to their communities.
Those who have deserved recognition do get reached by the honour system, and I've met many of them in my travels around the UK and elsewhere. I hope that the example set by these naturally generous and determined people will not be underestimated, and especially that they will have enjoyed the experience of today.
Welcome, Jason.
Welcome.
I wonder what people thought of that clip.
Oh, I don't know.
I loved it.
Yeah, I know that I was blown away by it, and Andy Mom.
Yeah, I bet she was.
So it was kind of like, I don't know, I suppose the other thing I can do for an amends to my family would be a knighthood, I suppose, but I don't think I'm going to get one of them.
Would you say that's your biggest achievement?
I suppose it's the most public achievement.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'll talk about some of the other stuff. I mean, some of the achievements that I hold dear have nothing to do with me.
Your personal ones?
No, not me, no. I mean, like, I kind of, like I say, because I'm a filmmaker, you know, I kind of said that, you know, my thing is if you're a filmmaker, they have a thing called an elevator pitch, which means that if you're in an elevator in a skyscraper and a director comes in, or a producer, that you can sell the idea to them in an elevator pitch. And my elevator pitch is, I went from smackhead, crackhead, glazing burglar to an OBE in 11 and a half, you know.
And here it is.
Yeah.
In front of us.
And there is the OBE.
I mean, how cool's that?
Yeah, 11 and a half years.
In 11 and a half years, yeah, so
we'll talk about the OBE a bit later on.
Yeah.
Just quickly for our listeners, quick to let them know the dynamic between the four of us. So obviously us four are in recovery from substance misuse, where we attend our meetings and stuff, and that's where we've met.
That's
where we met Jace a few years ago now.
I think I met Sam first.
Yeah.
And then Kieran.
Yeah. And then Pete.
I've seen you.
You've
shared
seen
a
each
meeting.
other,
I've seen you come over and shared on the Wednesday night meeting.
I was there.
Better for the summer.
Yeah,
that was
so it's the first time I'd seen Jason in a little while.
Yeah.
So
Great share.
the idea of this
Great share.
the idea of this podcast is that the drugs and that is it tends to be in like an anonymous situation where it's all hush hush. And back in them days, being a drug addict, you would be classed as an outcast, and that's why people didn't really talk about it. Society has moved on since then, yet that hasn't. It's still, that stigma still remains. That's why we're doing this podcast, where we talk on camera, we talk on audio, and we let people know a bit about who we are, what we did, and what we've done since our drugs. So, tell us a little bit about you, Jay. Tell us about your story, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I mean, like, just kind of going back to that little bit that you were saying there about society. So I did a degree, and my dissertation was around addiction and around, because I did media, and it was around media.
Yeah.
And I was trying to find those, and I'm going to do air commas here, you know, those Daily Mail readers, you know, who would be scum, you know what I mean, like they deserve what they get. But I couldn't find them. I could not find them in society. I think that they are a I think it's a generational thing. I think over the past 3-4 decades, you know, especially in the UK, that we're quite forgiving. We like a success story. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think in society, I think, you know what I mean, those kind of, you know, the media will sell you that there's a narrow-minded, bigot kind of, do you know what I mean? But, you know, I couldn't kind of find them. I couldn't find them for my dissertation, to be honest with you. So this stuff, you know,
do you think sometimes a lot of it's in the head of the addict thinking that we can't talk about this stuff because people will say that, even though it's not really being said. We have it internally think, well, we better not mention it because of that old stigma.
Yeah. But then also as well, I mean, like, I'm fortunate. Do you know what I mean? Like, kind of the stuff that I did when I did get clean. You know, I haven't had to hide behind anonymity. I mean, like, there are people out there that can't reveal this stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like,
we all know
because of their jobs, because their family didn't know. Do you know, that kind of stuff? But for me personally, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, I never knew anybody that got clean when I was using. I didn't know anybody. The only people that ever got clean were people that either died or went to prison.
That's it.
That was it. I didn't.
I'd only heard of celebrities that got clean because I didn't know any of the people that. So that's why I went to Rehab, because that's where they all went.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, but I think now, kind of getting it out there that we do, you know, because it's not about the using now. Do you know what I mean? It's about the recovery. Do you know what I mean? Can we? Yeah. You know, like I'm quite prolific on kind of Facebook and that. Do you know what I mean? And I'll just throw mad stuff out there just to get reaction.
I see some of the stuff in your achievements and stuff like I've seen it. It's awesome, man. It's nice to see people who are making it so we can be seen and heard. And you don't have to hide it anymore, you know, like for the people who are thinking, shall I put it out there or not? Well, we are, do you know what I mean? But I also understand people who have it, you know, their careers, they can't.
Yeah, they don't have to.
No, they don't have to, that's exactly right.
I think the other thing that we could, because of being a filmmaker as well, especially doing this stuff, I personally have always kept away from people that are fresh in. You know, I mean, there was a guy that was about, and it always kind of sticks in my head. You know, there was a guy that I got clean with, but he'd been clean before, for about a year before us, and he did a video, but he was petrified for years afterwards. Like, he was scared for years that it would come out. So I think, you've just got to kind of, if you are going to do this stuff, it's people that have got further down the road, they've got good recovery. Do you know what I mean? And that they're not, you know what I mean, kind of damage themselves with, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years clean. Do you know what I mean? But newcomers and that, they don't know what they're going to do. Do you know what I mean? So, I just think this is great.
About finding ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're getting people in here that do you know what I mean? You're talking about stuff that, do you know, with people, I've seen the content that you kind of put out there. The people that know what they do, what they're saying, and what they're doing.
We like to talk about the madness, and then we love to talk about the recovery, because that contrast in itself is a positive message that we want to get across to our listeners. So me, Pete and Sam from Coventry, born and bred. You're not.
No.
So where did you grow up?
So I grew up on Chelmsley Wood. Which is, if you look out your window now and look towards Birmingham, my mum and dad, my mum and dad's house is right on the edge, and if you looked out my mum and dad's window, the next houses you would see would be in Coventry.
Yeah, so you're only a stone's throw away, aren't you?
Exactly, across the field. Do you know what I mean?
You don't. Stone's throw.
But that was where I kind of grew up, you know, and I grew up on this housing estate that.
What was your childhood like?
This is what I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of came in here, I had a really good upbringing.
Me too.
Do you know, my mum and dad, my dad was a grafter, my dad worked, my mum was just showered. I've got a twin sister, you know, she just showered us with love. Do you know what I mean? My dad was out grafting all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Is your sister in recovery? Is what I'm asking.
Who?
Your sister?
Nah, she's one of us though. but she's never put a substance in her body. She's driven. Whether she's driven that much, she retired from work at 46.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Like, she was able
So are you 46 then?
Say again?
Are you
46? No, 52. You know what I mean? Like, I just, you know. But my sister, she's one of us. She's untreated. but she's just driven.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's what we are. You
Yeah.
can't be
Passionate,
you can't
driven.
be a drug addict for like for years and years and years and not be driven.
Yeah.
It's about tapping into that drive and finding something.
It's using that drive in a positive way, isn't it? I believe.
Not not damaging or whatever. I grew up on, like I say, I grew up on Chelmsford Wood. Do you know what I mean? It had a bad name before it was even built. Do you know what I mean? Like my mum come down to see the house. She had this big Silver Cross double pram, and she's walking down. There wasn't even a road. She was walking down a clay track. The paths hadn't even, but the house, the plots and that were there. Do you know what I mean? It was like, they hadn't cut the grass down. Or and she went down and saw the house and says, "Yeah, I want it." And it was back in the day where my mum then had to go to the phone box and phone up my granddad's neighbour, and then the neighbour would go and get my granddad. Do you know what I mean? Like that Pony Express for the phone calls back in the day. And she phoned my dad and my granddad when she was dead chuffed. You know what I mean? I've got this house. And my granddad was like that. "Oh, you don't even want a Chelmsford Wood." My mum was like, "You haven't even built it yet."
Do you think living in that environment led to your sort of using behaviour? What age was you when you first used drugs, and what drug was it, or drink, or what?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, drink wasn't really a thing, because you got to think, I'm an old fella, right? So I'm 52, so you got to kind of look at the social stuff. Alcohol wasn't really around when I was a kid. Do you know what I mean? If you wanted to drink, you had to go to the pub. Do you know what I mean? The only place
you couldn't go to the offie
that's what it was called. You know what I mean? Like, we've got a terminology in Birmingham, I don't know if you call it the outdoor. And people go, outdoor one. But that was what the off licence was called. It was connected to the pub. Okay. So then was kind of the only two places where you could buy alcohol. Now, it's in every shop.
Yeah.
Alcohol's in every shop.
You get it delivered to your door.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was little.
Apparently.
Because I was only a little fella, I could never get into the pub. Do you know what I mean? I went to, when you turn 18 and you get the tickets from the local nightclub, because you'd be 18. I couldn't even get into my own party. That's how little I was. I had to go all the way back to Chelmsford Wood to get some ID to go back. Do you know what I mean? So alcohol was never really a thing for me. But, cannabis was the first thing.
Was that the first?
Yeah, but then I remember just getting obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm obsessed with it.
Was yours hard resin back then?
Yeah.
How old were you, do you reckon?
I think the first time I ever had a drag on a because I started smoking when I was about 10. First time I had a drag on a spliff, I was probably about 11 or 12, but it was just a couple of drags, and I don't remember getting anything off it. But then the first time I actually had a spliff and knew what it was and got a buzz off it, I was probably about 14.
Yeah.
But that was just kind of like, that was the starting of it, because it was like, I had to find a dealer then. Do you know what I mean? But then once I'd made the connection, that was it. But I just remember, like, thinking back now that nobody, if you didn't use drugs, or you didn't talk about drugs, or you did cannabis at the time, if you didn't talk about cannabis or use cannabis, I weren't interested. So I sought out those people. I remember when I was flat out using years later, and I said to my dad, he went, "You still using them drugs?" I went, "Yeah, man, everybody does." And he went, "No, they don't." Everybody you know. I said, "Not everybody." But I actually believe that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because everybody.
That's it. Everyone you was around was using drugs, so.
Yeah, your circle was. So
How-
to you, everyone was. It's true.
Exactly.
So what do your man say? No, they don't.
How long was it before you noticed that the drugs progressed? Do you know, like they got harder and harder and harder?
Well, they never. I mean, like, for me, right. So I say this in my show. So my using of substances came in 3 distinct chunks.
Yeah.
There was fun.
Yeah.
Then there was fun with problems.
Yeah.
Then there was just problems.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, the fun with problems. What kind of, they started, I don't know, when I was about 21, 22.
Yeah.
So from...
How old was the fun on its own? Just the fun?
It was fun. Listen, if I said that all my using was, I'd be lying.
What?
Because it was...
I used to like taking a pill, going to a rave. I really enjoyed that time.
Exactly.
You ever took a pill in Ibiza?
Nah. Only because I weren't in.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
Mike Posner is great. It's correct. It's brilliant.
Yeah, so when it was kind of manageable, smoking a bit of weed and all that kind of stuff, do you know what I mean? Like it was all right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've got a girlfriend, and then I got introduced to speed. I know I did acid next, which just freaked the life out of me. I watched somebody get stabbed for the first time. I did acid. I seen somebody get stabbed up, and I was just kind of like I was horrified. And this song, "Sign of the Times" by Prince, was just on playing in my head all through the night. Do you know what I mean? But that didn't put me off. It scared the life out of me. Well, I've still done it again.
I've never took acid.
No, never.
Took speed, but never acid.
A few of the old lads around my area used to take acid.
Like a little
All
tab
of them
thing.
did some really fucked up stuff. Like one of them jumped out of a window of the balcony, and a few of them.
Is it hallucinogenic?
Yeah, one of them glassed himself, and I just thought, I sort of lose control anyway, so I'm alright with everything else. All the other drugs are just down there.
I mean, like, you know, for me, I mean, like, which, I don't know if you're going to kind of use it, I'm going to show you a photo now. So we can put that photo on of me flying there. I never, that photograph, if you use it, I never planned on getting like that. I didn't plan on getting like that.
These are some of the consequences then.
Yeah, so I never started using to kind of, to get into that state. Do you know what I mean? Like, I found myself there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I say I'd hidden until I got there. Do you know what I mean? Because that was
I felt part of the culture, like what was going on around me.
Subculture.
Yeah, I did.
You know, I'm 52, so do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to think about socially what was happening at the time. You know, the miners' strike, you know, the big upheaval, you know, the social unrest around, you know, around the miners, and then you've got the poll tax riots. Do you know, there was a lot of civil unrest, do you know what I mean? And then you got Swampy digging underneath the Newbury bypass, and then, you know, the New Age travellers were kind of like, you know, the demons of society, do you know what I mean? And there was a lot of legislation that was put up around that. So that was really like exciting, you know, yeah, I want a bit of that. You know, there used to be a fella on Chelmsford Wood that used to lend us a transit van, and we'd be off. You know, we'd be off with oversized mobile phones like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a party.
Did you always find the party?
Yeah. So we kind of end up like just starting out like kids on Chelmsford Wood ending up in Bury. You know, ending up.
Were you raving?
Yeah. Well,
what drugs were you on then, Jace?
Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, over in, you know, Leicestershire, down in Gloucestershire, you know, the Forest of Dean, as far as Towing in Wales, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just little kind of...
What was your drugs then? What were you taking then?
It was just like...
Your acid and that still?
Acid, speed,
pills,
weed, pills.
Drinking?
No, that's what I'm saying, I never drunk. I never drunk really until the arse end of my using. I kind of worked out really quickly that, and what I didn't work out for the rest of it, that alcohol, I felt the consequences on the night. It was either getting chinned, falling off something, breaking something, or, you know, getting done for drink driving or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of kept away from alcohol. I drove for years. Do you know what I mean? I was the driver. Do you know what I mean? I would drive the car everywhere. I'd take us out earning, take us out raving. Because drink wasn't my thing.
That's a good point though, because consequences with drugs can be gradual.
Exactly.
It's not instantaneous, is it? With alcohol, it could be that way.
You were finding the consequences was instant on the night.
Yeah. The night or the next day, the guilt and shame, gobbing off at somebody.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like kind of getting chinned or waking up the next day. Most times I used to go out drinking, I'd then phone somebody up and then go, I can't believe the way you behaved last night. I can't believe you said that to her.
And you can't remember?
With alcohol, if I used to drink a lot of alcohol with drugs, but with the alcohol, the next day, if my phone rang, the anxiety would go through the roof. It was never anything good. It would never be like, you were really nice to everyone last night. It was like what you said. What like, you know, you're gonna have to go and call meet so and so, or you know, you've wrecked this, you've destroyed this pub, or like you said, the consequences were literally in that 24 hours.
Exactly.
My anxiety after alcohol, probably from the alcohol as well, but when that phone rang, I knew. Normally didn't know, this is going off, or the police are at my mum's, you know what I mean? The CIA around my mum's again.
Me and alcohol didn't mix well either. I'd be the biggest idiot in the room. Some would say I'm like that sober, but more so when I was drinking. I'd just be a buffoon.
But you're not insulting anybody now, though, are you? Or smashing the place up? And, do you know what I mean? Like, since I've been in recovery, one thing that I can say since I've been in recovery is every phone I've had in recovery has lasted the life of the phone. Like, I would have phones when I was using and I was drinking, like at the end of my using, I was drinking, and I'd probably get through 3, 4, 5, 6 phones a year.
People get sick of changing your
and I'd end up smashing my own phone up. Do you know what I mean? I'd end up smashing my own stuff up. Do you know, that's how much of a vile.
I used to think, right, that I never got any consequences from drinking. And someone told me, what happens when you drink? And every single time I took drugs. Do you know what I mean? So that was a consequence that, like.
They go hand in hand, Sam.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But every time I drank, I took drugs. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they do to us.
Yeah.
I think they do. A bit like your dad. I think they do for everyone. They don't. My old man's over there now drinking.
Yeah.
And I can't see a line of cocaine anywhere.
No.
It's because it's dark.
And it's not really as conditions.
But then the drugs, the consequence was that my family was watching me dying.
Yeah.
You know, they was watching me, you know, emaciated. They were watching me malnourished. They was watching me at 7 stone. They was watching me just lie through my teeth. And there was always a scam or you know, like kind of manipulation, or do you know what I mean? Something. It's just like, my family just used to look at me like baffled.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like baffled by my behaviour. Like.
Do you mind me asking
really
what?
Think that you're going to get away with that?
What drugs? What? You know, like you got to 21, and that's when it became fun with problems. What drugs were you on then? Are you still on the acid then and the speed?
Yeah, so it was like acid, speed, and then ecstasy came along, and then it was crack cocaine. And they like, I'd done crack before I'd done heroin. Heroin came as.
What did you think when you first smoked? Can you remember that first time you smoked crack?
I couldn't work it out. I remember the first time I did it, I ended up getting to sleep. I was in a flat at a mate of mine's house. I was in a mate of mine's house, and I seen how expensive it was.
Crack?
I just thought, I'm out of this. I couldn't afford it at the time, you know what I mean? Like, so I just went and laid.
The crack is,
yeah. I just went, and then, because I was a glazer by trade, so I was like, you know, I did putty work. Do you know what I mean? The old.
You knew how to take the windows out as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? I was a glazer, so I did putty work, did arcades, did single glazing, then double glazing came on. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then heroin and crack came along, and I used reverse engineering.
Yeah.
I took windows out.
Yeah.
I know. And even that, I protected that as well when I was out earning. I used to get phone calls from other criminals. We've got this earner, but we need these windows kind of, and I'd be like, well, yeah, just move out of the way, go what I do. Do you know what I mean? It's a piece of piece to do, you just flatten off, pop the beads off, and the window was out. But I was going, no, you're have to.
Professional job.
Yeah, professional job. Watch out. Do you know what I mean?
So, are they the main drugs that got you to your rock bottom though, Jace?
Yeah. Crack, cocaine.
Quickly, or?
Yeah.
The thing with crack is, like you said, is a dear drug. It's not that it's more expensive, it's just that you go through it so much quicker than you do powder cocaine.
So if you had £1,000, you'd spend £1,000 on crack?
Yeah.
I'll be asking you for another grand.
Just one more.
Just one more grand?
Yeah.
And would you spend the whole lot on crack?
Yeah. Well,
it's a bit like, I'd spend that on cocaine, no problem.
Mine was the same transition though. For a long time I smoked like crack in Rockford, and I used to look down my nose at people who smoked heroin, or people who, I'd just be like, the fucking junkies, mate. I'd be sat in the same room with them and I'd be like, dirty bastard. And then soon down the line, you know,
you're smoking crack.
a few years, and then we all swapped seats, and there was a new lad sitting there saying, fucking get off that stuff, and I was like, thinking, you're going to be me soon. That's how it goes. It's going like that as we speak now. That's how it's happening, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because I mean, like, it's really mad actually. Like, my thing was like, I've been like deaf since I was 21. Do you know what I mean? I was hard of hearing, you know, I had an operation on me and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really kind of, I pick up on body language and kind of thingy, yeah. So, and I used to because I was always a good kind of salesman, I was a shit drug dealer, do you know what I mean? But I was a good salesman, and I could get the link for people. So then I'd get these posh dudes, from like Shirley and Noel, and asking me to school, and then I'd turn up there, they'd be all pally with that, and then I would just pick up on that, like, them looking down their nose at me. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they'd rack up the line, they'd give me a lot, and I would just want to, like, horrify them. So I would then pull a 1 mil out and a spoon. Do you know what I mean? I'd cook it up.
Oh, they're sniffing it, you're cooking it up.
See, you know what I mean? And I'd just see the horrible faces, and I'd be like, oh yeah. Banging it on.
This is true though. Even when people take the same drugs, I remember with the heroin addicts, if someone was pinning an IV drug user, they would be the fucking lowest of the low. But you'd be using in the same room, the same substance, but they'd be, putting it in their body different. And we'd be like,
is that what you did, Jace?
Well, yeah, I mean, for years, that was kind of, I don't know, the first time, so I was like kind of using crack and heroin and pharmaceuticals.
What do you think of that combo, crack and heroin? Is it a good one? Because we hear a lot of people...
I didn't like the heroin buzz, that's what I'm saying, I'm an upper, I'm happy to get psychotic. Yeah. I was happy, my idea of a good night was driving in my car, on my own, decoding number plates. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was my thing.
What, cracked off?
Yeah. I'd be knackered now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would, now the laws change and they've got drug testing kits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've had it where I've been off my nut. But, and the police know it, and I know it, but there was just nothing they could do.
They're only going to check for the alcohol, aren't they?
Yeah. Because I don't drink, I'd get away with it all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd come up with a crack can. I got flashed by the police. I'm like, fuck. And all like that, like, framed, at the door. But then, by the time they got me to the police station, and they've got a doctor, I'm not as wired. Do you know? The doctor's gone, there's nothing wrong with me.
Now, me and you have spoke personally. I'm aware of your run-ins with the police, and I'm also aware of your relationship with them now, which is a complete turnaround. So talk us a bit about your problems with the police. Not so much the police, but your problems and your run-ins with the police.
Just, look, prison. Like I've been sentenced to 3.5 years, 9.5 years in prison. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I, because I was so gobby, I never did. They never sent me to a decap prison or open surroundings. I was locked up for every day of the 4.5 years that I was, just over 4.5 years that that I've been,
And was that for the burglary and stuff?
Well, also, I've got...
Because you were a prolific offender, weren't you?
Proper. I was never named. I was never named as a PIP or a...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it was, but I was never on the books as a
prolific
offender
yeah.
or anything like that. There was one police officer from West Midlands Police, and they used to... the police just used to send him to me. Do you know? Because we had a good rapport. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me and him, it was
well, when you meet someone that many times, you're going to...
It was a game. Do you know what I mean? It was cat and mouse.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, though, a lot of people, when I say this, they go, look, we're going to act, you know what I mean? But I feel that in the UK, I've travelled the world since I've come into recovery, so I've been able to see other systems and do you know what I mean? And I listen to, the media, and I just kind of see current affairs, and I just watch documentaries, and I kind of know what's going on around the world. And I just, I personally think that we've got the fairest judicial system on our planet. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's whereas, alright, there is going to be corruption at a higher level, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, all mates together and all that kind of stuff. But on a base level, our system is fair. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't go, for instance, do you know what I mean? Something like a driving licence. You couldn't go and find somebody to do, give me there's a couple of £100, give us an HGV licence. Do you know what I mean? Or get to a police officer, look, don't get doing me for drink driving. He's £1,000 and he's going to let you off. Like that, this system, do you know what I mean? Like, it's fair. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
It's fair game, you're getting arrested, you get locked up. For me personally, I was talking to somebody last night about this, all the days I did in prison, I deserved every day of them. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't sit there and say, I can honestly put my hand on my heart and say, every time I've been locked up, and every time I've been arrested, and every time I've been in police custody, it has been a perfectly valid reason for me to be there. Do you know what I mean? I've never woke up the next day giving, I've been stitched up, or standing there getting used to. I'll stand there giving, you're just stitching me up. Just
when was the last time you were in prison? Was it
2000?
And that's when you come out.
I come out, yeah, and I still went flat out for another 8 years. I mean, like the first time I went to prison was in 1995, and it was for, I got 3.5 years for handling stolen goods and possession of a firearm. Well, 2 counts of possession of a firearm. Well, there was 14 counts to start off with, but we won't talk about that. 12 of the charges got dropped. Not because I'm a slick kind of, drug addict with a legal team behind me. The police fucked up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the policy and procedure wasn't followed.
Yeah.
So they had to throw the
Do you think there could be more help in the prison systems in the UK? Like, I've been in prisons myself, and like, whenever I've got out, there's been no change in my addiction. I've always come out and used again. It was not through prison that I got clean. Do you think we could do more in this country, like not us ourselves, or maybe in the future?
Yeah, it's something that we want to do, isn't it?
What was your experience with?
I mean, the thing is, do you know what I mean? I kind of understand the system, and I understand the pressures that are on the system and the pressures. Do you know what I mean? Like even, when you kind of listen to, autobiographies of, people that have, there's a couple of books out there. There's a guy in the fellowship up north. Do you know what I mean? He's locked up in Thailand, and I was listening to one the other day about 2 girls in Peru. Do you know what I mean? Kind of listening to their system. Do you know what I mean? Like where they're in a cell that's designed for like 6, and there's 40 of them in there. Do you know what I mean? Like so here in the UK, you get a certain amount of jail. You're entitled. Not, you might get you there, but you are entitled to a single cell. Do you know what I mean? You are entitled to that.
I think the conditions in our prison are some of the best in the world. I think it's more of a hotel than a prison a lot of the time. I was just, well, they are now.
What you're saying is
they are more to this day.
Man, it's scary.
You're sending a drug addict to prison for drug offences. He or she is likely to come out the same addict that went in.
Yeah, but you're going to come out more educated around crime.
Yeah.
There's kind of like, I mean, like the discussion that we're kind of going into now, we could talk, there's a whole new discussion there, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I never got clean in prison. There was lots of support there if I wanted to take it, but...
I was too ashamed to come out as a drug addict. When I was in jail, when I was in prison, I sort of had this, my thought was that nobody knew. I refused to go on any drug wing, so to me it was like I weren't a drug addict. You know what I mean? I wouldn't use in jail. I was just my pride, and I just thought I hope no one knows. You know what I mean? It was clear I was in prison, and I was.
And what a great example of your personal growth that he's now sat on camera talking about.
Yeah, but it'd be nice, if in the future there is more help in prison. I know there is, but it's if you want it. I didn't want it. I didn't want it.
I was completely opposite to you. I was like, where's the Valium? I'm going to be rattling my head off in like 6 hours time. If I'm not rattling already, if I come straight from court, I'm going to be rattling in the morning. I want some drugs. And even when I was going there was nothing there. Do you know what I mean? I remember the doctor at Windsor Green Prison sliding 2 ibuprofen over the table to me as if we're going to keep grateful. I knew you weren't going to do anything.
Stop doing it.
A lot of a person's success and whether getting clean or not is going to be down to their mindset, isn't it? Whether what support's there. If you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it. So, talk to us we talked about your drugs, we talked about you being in prison. Talk to us now a bit about getting clean. Why did you get clean? How did you get clean? And what drove you to seek that recovery?
So I kind of had enough of my life. I'd had enough of the disappointment.
Just what year was this? It was
2008.
2008.
Well, no, it was 2006 really.
Yeah.
So I was you know, like I used for years just on the shame of seeing my family. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I'm a believer. Like, nobody really gives a shit apart from you know, my.
Do you find a lot of people don't understand that? Why do you keep using, despite of what it's done to your family? And it's hard to explain that. It's because of what I've done to my family that I keep using, and they can't understand that contradiction.
I never felt any pain. I never felt their pain, so I just carried on. I didn't give a fuck.
But in times when the drugs wore off, you would have felt that pain, Pete.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
And then what do you do then?
But that's when we talk about the insanity of it, isn't it? Where we keep doing the same thing, making the same, expecting it to be different. Do you know what I mean? We know the outcome of what happens when we.
To be honest, I weren't expecting anything different. I expected what happened. To get wired.
We still did it again. And again and again.
Yeah. Well, I ended up like I went to the first rehab that I went to in 2006, and it wasn't a 12-step program. It was a therapeutic community. It was so like it was really mad actually. Like kind of when I think about it now, it was so anti-12-step.
Yeah.
But
I know a few people like that.
That they were kind of like but their program was kind of like anti-12-step, and if you even mentioned 12 steps, it was like, you know, like frowned upon. Do you know what I mean? I always remember one guy turning around to me and going, well, you know, what do you want to go there for? Because you'll just end up getting addicted to meetings. And then it was just kind of like, well, hang on a minute. Like, so you're sitting there saying that to us. This was like, you know, like kind of the people that were working there, one of the workers. And yet they were using NA as an activity. Do you know what I mean? Like getting us in the minibus and taking us to NA meetings or AA meetings.
So it contradicted itself.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, like I went in there, I stayed clean. Towards the end of it, I was in there for about 3 months, and then the funding ran out. So that gave me licence then. You lot, the system's let me down, blame them, right, that's it.
You've done what you did. I've done what I've done, you've let me down, so it's fair game.
So so I started tossing. I mean, like I worked out, you could have a drink, wait 3 hours, and nobody could smell it. So I'd go down into the town and go and have a quick pint, go on my bike and ride around for 3 hours in the rain before I went to the back up to the rehab. Do you know what I mean? And then I was just kind of thinking. Then I ended up going to Bangor. Then I went to another.
Who do you bang?
Bangor. Who
did you bang?
No, in Bangor. I'm in Bangor.
I thought you said I went off to Bangor. Go into more detail.
The day we went to Bangor. No, so I went to Bangor to another rehab.
Did you ride your bike there?
And I lasted about 2 weeks in there. Got found lagging. You know, because the obsession had sucked off. Yeah, the obsession had sucked. So what I learned from that was that the first rehab I went to, I went in there, I came out of there an ex-heroin and crack addict, which I now know he's an alcoholic. So I just kind of come out there and just flat out on the beer then. But then I kind of, you know what I mean, because I always thought that even though heroin wasn't my thing, I always thought that the heroin was just the problem. Do you know what I mean? So as soon as I come out of there, hated the world, you lot let me down, that was it. You know what I mean? I was smoking crack and drinking Carling Black Label, but we couldn't go down the route of, oh, you're an alcoholic. It's Carling Black Label, it's only 5.2%. But
you justified it.
Yeah, but I forgot that I was drinking 16 cans a day. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. 5%. and then topping up with Strongbow Super as well. Do you know what I mean?
And the crack.
Yeah, crack, and do you know what I mean? And it was painful. So then they decided then that I could go to where. I mean, like, you get people that are around at the minute all resentful at people like me that went to rehab back in the day, like 12 years ago, because there's only dry houses and day projects. So they get resentful, and I'm resentful at them because I had to wait 9 months twice to get to rehab. Well, at that kind of, we'll get you in straight away. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was
like 9 months weren't nice.
Oh, listen, not for me, it was alright, but for my mum, my dad and my sister, it was horrendous. My mum used to like waft, because they made me get to these focus on rehab groups in Birmingham City Centre, where you've done Chelmsford Wood. I was banned from driving at this time. My mum had wafted a £10 note or a £20 note over me on the settee. You ooh, we've got to get to this thing. And I'm like, and I'm there and I'm just hateful in the mornings, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm hateful. And I turn up to this focus on rehab and there was some of the guys are still around in the fellowship that are a couple of 3 or 4 years cleaner than me. And the one guy turned around and he said, when your name used to come on, it used to be rung around in red or a big cross on the side of it, do you know what I mean? This one's a lot. Because that's what I was like. My gig was, I thought it was my God-given right to persecute professionals and tell them how shit they was at doing their job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like
so
deflecting, aren't you?
Yeah, because it was just like, oh shit. Do you know what I mean? But then I would, so which didn't do me any favours, but did me loads of favours later on. Because just the mere mention of my name when I got clean.
And tell us your clean date. When's it?
The 21st of the 8th, 2018. No, 2008.
2018, I think the first answer, please.
So I'm 14 years clean in a few months.
Brilliant.
That's amazing.
So from a life of crack, smack, burglary, prison, you got to the point where you got clean and you're now 14 years today. How clean are you?
I don't know, 13 years, 9 months or something like that.
Considerable amount of time.
5 months off.
So in your time you've been clean,
what have I done?
What have you done and how's life changed?
So I got dragged kicking and screaming into a 12-step rehab in Western-super-Mare.
Yeah, well, we're aware of that, mate.
So I went there to kind of get everybody off my back.
Yeah.
And I'd had enough.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'd had.
Which is also a massive help, isn't it?
Yeah, you've seen that photo of me. You know, when I'm malnourished. The nurse that detoxed me, because I detoxed at my sister's house before I went into the rehab. So I spent 10 days there. And there was like, and my mum and sister laugh about it now. My mum and my sister was having a blazing rage because I'm deaf and I never wore an hearing aid. I'm stopping downstairs. They've just stopped arguing so as not to upset me, so I wouldn't use that as an excuse. You bang, I'm off. So they were all on eggshells while I was there, do you know what I mean? And the nurse used to come in every day and give me the meds that I need, like Levexidine or the tablets that I was on, medication. And she said to me about 6 or 8 months when I come out of rehab, she turned around and said, you was probably a couple of months from death through malnutrition. Because I just used to live on cheese and onion crisps, cheese, and jam donuts. That was it. Anything. I used to eat like a fly. I'm surprised I never used to just throw up on my hands and then, do you know what I mean? Like, because I just couldn't even be bothered to eat. I couldn't be bothered to eat.
And how long were you in the treatment in
6
Western?
months.
And did you do your full stint?
I did my full stint, yeah.
Did that involve a detox of some sort?
And I did the detox of my sisters.
Oh yeah. Oh, you went there. You went there.
Yeah. And I was really fortunate. So kind of when I was in there, I was probably about a week clean, and H&I from the fellowship came in and did a meeting. So the guy that's now my sponsor came in, and he was sharing, and I can honestly, I can put this down to that point within that hour that I was there. I remember sitting there like that. I'd been in there a week, and I was surrounded by cockneys and scousers and manx and taffies, and there was no brummies in there. Well, there was one brummie in there, Saty, but there was all these, and I was, do you know what I mean, like fucking foreigners, and like kind of because they're from Liverpool, so they're foreigners. Do you know what I mean? Like as far as I'm concerned, country bumpkins and all. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of what the narrative that was going in the head. All of a sudden, these guys started talking, and I was up like a meerkat because he was a brummie.
You identified with him.
And I was sat there listening to him, and he was from my same town. He was talking about areas that I knew. He was just a mad crackhead like me, so I could identify with that. And there was like kind of a little narrative going on in my head about. I sat there and I thought to myself, these geezers are, because he's in his mid-60s, And he turned around and he looks, he's a lot older than me, and I'm sat there thinking, this geezer's been around a lot longer than I have. He's used drugs longer than I have. You know, because he was talking about using in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, you know, when he was talking about, and I sat there and I thought to myself, he's been using a lot longer than I have. Do you know what I mean? He used the drugs that I have. He lived where I lived. He knows places that I know. If I want to, I can stand up and go and score and use.
Yeah.
My last prison sentence was a year long. That 6 months went really quick. Do you know what? I'm going to give this a go. That's what I said to myself. I'm going to give this a go. What I now know is that when I said that in my head, I'm going to give this a go, I became open-minded.
Yeah.
And I became willing.
Yeah.
I became willing to try something different. And that was what I did. Do you know what I mean? I became willing to listen to the stuff that these people, because he was on about.
Because you say that when suggestions left their mouth, they hit your ears as
an order.
As an order, and
no, that's
he
what
did them. They weren't suggested; they were orders.
It served you well, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I used to, because I remember him saying, you know what I mean? Like, stick with the winners. You know what I mean? Like, if there's
all the
you know what I mean? Like, and that's what I was doing. I was just learning this new vocabulary. I mean, like, we're getting some new tools in this Rehab. We just hack alongside of each other with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, kind of in the cop groups and, you know, like, kind of challenging each other and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was brutal in there. Do you know what I mean? Like, not so much with the staff, but the, you know, your peers. He's 2 weeks cleaner than the other, and he just thinks he's so spiritual. Do you know what I mean? And he's just like, mate, you've only been in here a month longer than I have. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're a newcomer. But I never thought that at the time. I just used to kind of look up to them, so I'd listen to them and I'd seek guidance and all that kind of stuff off people. Do you know what I mean? And then what I ended up doing, what I'm doing, was a similar kind of thought process. So I was about 4 days clean for this one, so that was about a month. And I was about 4 days for this one, so I landed there on the Monday, and on Thursday they used to have their team meeting. They never actually said this to me, but this is how I heard it. We're having our team meeting this afternoon. You ain't going anywhere. Sit in the corner, if your leg falls off, grab 2 of your peers and have a mini group. Tell them all about it. If not, you can watch one of these films. So they had these old VHS films, and they were like American treatment-based films. So there was like, you know, like, they were like Sesame Street for adults. Do you know what I mean? They were condescending, patronising. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, talking about relationships and all that. But it was because he was American. You know, he's got Bubba falling out of a Cadillac with a roll of dollars in his hand. You know what I mean? Talking street terminology that didn't mean anything to me. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't identify with him. So, you know, I want to see Stevie G driving up the Combs Road in a Metro, subbing crack off his gyro. You know what I mean? We're about halfway there then. And I stood up in my own head and said, they're shit. I'm going to remake them.
And that's what you do now, isn't it? You're
exactly,
a filmmaker.
So from 4 days clean, and then getting involved in the rehab and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean, and taking...
Find your purpose.
Yeah, but then it was like, I think when I got out of rehab, I remember standing, you know those railway signs that are like scrolly and it's the name, you know, it's in that block capitals and it's like gold and, you know, there's like flowers on the top. I remember standing at Birmingham International train station on platform 3 with a rucksack. I'd been lying in a box and the train pulled off and I just saw Birmingham International train station. I stood there and thought, what the hell am I going to do now? Yeah. What am I going to do now? Do you know what I mean? And
there was nothing stopping you at that point.
No, there's nothing stopping me from going, but I just thought, if there's that, I'm going to give it a go, I'm just going to, do you know what I mean? Like, and then my family just closed around me. Do you know what I mean? My mum, I remember going to my sister's and walking up the drive at my sister's and seeing my sister's head through the window, giving like that. What she got was a tray with all the drinks on it, and she was out putting it in the shed. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they was altering their behaviour, and that's their stuff around them to kind of fit me, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have my own.
Which is a shame, but it's also very nice that his family did that.
Oh, I've been so lucky with my family. Do you know what I mean? Like, my mum and my dad. My mum was always there. Do you know, my sister was always there. Do you know what I mean? Like, my sister, for the last 9 months of my using, kind of subsidised my drug use, because she didn't want me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of using and going to jail.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But typical addict, she went, how much money do you need?
Yeah.
Resentfully.
And do you think them values...
Do you know what I mean? Like, not a tenner, Drake. Do you know, like, kind of resentful.
Sometimes when, I think some family members, it's the only way they know to love you. And they don't know they're enabling you. I see it a lot, like things close to home with me, and people, they think it's love. It's the only. They still want to give this love, and they think, "Oh, I could see a smile coming with this 20 quid." But I know it's killing on.
Education around that needs to improve massively.
Especially from a mother to a child or a close sibling.
You're never going to change them.
No, I don't think so.
You're never going to change them. You're never going to change a mother, their love, because they don't want you to be bad. They don't want you, because we use. I mean, I just over-egged my withdrawal symptoms.
But is that because they
manipulate to get what we need?
Is that because they don't understand though, Jace? Do you know what I mean? So the normal people.
Even if you
do you know what I mean?
Even if you educated mums, I
They
don't
do it slowly.
you wouldn't stop. Mums want to do. That's what mums do.
Yeah.
Do you know
That's
what I mean?
their job.
Mums want their kids.
But if everyone knew that, maybe I've got to let them get to their bottom to get better. Do you know what I mean? Then
for instance,
people would let that happen.
Mom, right? I hope you don't mind me saying this, but if you tell my mum stop giving him money because you're making him ill, or like you're making him worse, he's going to die, and then I knock the door an hour later, went, Mum, I really need 20 quid. She'd go, yes, don't tell no one. That's just lies. That's mothers. That's
blind love, isn't it?
You know what I mean? And I don't think you're going to change it. We still should educate everyone on it. It'd be great if we all knew a bit more.
Because if someone said, don't give that person money, eventually he'll get better from not doing that, would that change the perspective of it? Do you know what I mean?
You were surrounded
eventually
by love.
You'll get, do you know what I mean though?
And you were surrounded by love and a caring family, and that's something now you can take forward, because obviously we know that you became a father when you got clean, and that's something now that will...
But I was a father anyway. My eldest is 35.
Yeah, sorry,
but I mean, like, it was. So when I kind of came out then, when I came out of rehab, then it was like, do you know what I mean? I went. The only place that I knew was my local drug services.
Yeah.
So I went to my local drug services. It wasn't like it is now with there's volunteering opportunities. I've turned up with my mad bag, my new teeth and my tracksuit, do you know what I mean? I've just pissed them off, basically, do you know what I mean? Really done the radio. How come anyone... I remember getting into the ring with one of the drug workers because of, I was entitled, because I'm volunteering, I'm entitled to the code to the door to get through, do you know what I mean? And the rest of them was just like, do you want, do you know what I mean? And then it was like the service user stuff that I was going into there, do you know what I mean? I was going in there to try and do some, it's very tokenistic, few crumbs off the end of the table kind of thing. And the guy that had been doing the service user role in my local area, he was still, he'd been on methadone like 30 years, you know what I mean? And he was saying to me when I was going in there talking about abstinence, and talking about the 12 steps, you can't be coming in there talking about that religious. I said, well, about religious stuff. No, you can't be talking about abstinence. You've got to give people a choice. I mean, you haven't had a choice for 30 years, mate. So the only choice you've got is to get up and get to the chemist. So that's the only choice you've got.
So that's pure imprisonment.
Exactly.
And as a project, we don't want that approach where we're telling people stuff like that. We can only, Jace, if I came to you for advice, you could only tell me what you did.
Exactly.
And that's how we
lived experience.
We don't want to dictate to anyone or condescend to anyone. If you want to get clean, this is how we do it. If it can work for us, it may work for you.
What I don't like, what I kind of heard, and I mean it's probably changed now, but I've kind of kept away from like services and that, but I would hear drug workers turn around to me, like there was a lad that was on the periphery, and this drug worker turned around to me and said, "Oh, Jay, can you come down and talk to this lad? You know, try to come 12-stepping." And I said, yeah. So he was a hard graft to try and kind of get through, and I was kind of getting, I'm thinking about it, I must have been nuts myself, I was probably only about 18 months clean. So I'm telling him this stuff, and then the drug workers then, because he's got me down, introduced me to this lad, and then he's gone in to do another, had another client, and then he's come out, but when he's come out, he's turned around to Mangy Boy, and he went, can you try that then, might not be for you, but can you give it a go? And I just thought, why are you telling him that?
Yeah.
Why are you saying to him it's not for you?
Why get you down there then?
Let's forward what happens. Yeah. So Maggie Boy leaves the house, walks to the bus stop. Yeah. His expectation is that he's going to transition perfectly from the bus stop to the bus. Yeah. But what happens is, he ends up at the bus stop and he does a really dangerous thing that addicts do. He stands there thinking. Stands at the bus
That's a very dangerous combo.
Stands there thinking, because the bus ain't there, and he's gone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's gone because all he's got in his head is the drug worker turning around to him and going, might not be for you.
Yeah. That bus being late is thing.
How dare you? Just.
And that's all that addict would hear.
Let him try it. Do you know what I mean? Let him try it. I mean, I kind of thinking about it. I'll come prolific on Facebook and that. At the moment, I just kind of see this stuff off the, from the drug service and that, turning around and giving, that in 12 steps, at 12 steps, between a good 5% success rate. And it's like, I've been around 14 years. They've been ready to come to me, the white coat again. I'd blame you, man.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So where's this statistic coming from?
Yeah.
And then I see photographs.
It's all anonymous as well, so it's like those statistics.
Exactly. But I see photographs on social media of people and I did the calculation on the thing, yeah? And we're not just talking about people doing the first year, because they have to break it down. And you can stay clean for a year, and 3 years, 5 years. These people were 5, 6, 7, 8 years clean. And I did the maths in the people in the photo, and it was 80%. And they were all over 5 years.
Statistics can be to fit whatever narrative they're trying to push at the time, can't they?
Well, exactly. But it's just one of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
46.77263.327% of all statistics are made up on
So, let's talk a little bit and we'll finish on this. The big thing that happened in your recovery was when you were awarded an OBE.
Yeah.
Which
let's hear some of your achievements now. What are you proud of, man?
That's what I'm saying. So, like, when I kind of got clean, then I'm just going to tell you a quick version of what I've done since I got clean. So I got clean, had that little thing. You can't bring that here. You've got to give people a choice. And I was like, sack that. Anyway, so I got involved in the fellowship that I'm kind of a part of now. So I just got involved in that. They taught me you can only keep what you got by giving it away. I just kind of meetings, got involved in service, started getting some spiritual principles in my life, started getting a new vocabulary in my life. So that was in the January. And then because I've got this idea that I wanted to be a filmmaker, I then sourced through a couple of people in the fellowship. I said, try this college, because they do a media course. Bear in mind, the DVLA had ain't enough of me. They said, don't bother coming anywhere near us to get, because they'd revoked my licence, and they said, because I was on methadone, which rightly so, do you know what I mean? They said, don't come near us for 18 months. So I was on the bus, so I had to go from Chelmsley Wood to Great Bar every day for this college course in the September. So do you know what I mean? I'd have to catch the bus to Great Bar. I used to spend probably, I don't know, in the early days then, I'll probably be spending 4, 5 hours, 6 hours on the bus a day.
Wow.
You know, because it weren't like it is now where there's like loads. When I first got clean, there was like 7 meetings. So I used to go to college, and then I would then leave college and go straight to a meeting. Because of college course, what people don't kind of realise, like full-time college course, only 15 hours. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's 2.5 days really. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of did 2.5 days college, and then the rest of it then was recovery based. So it'd be like NA and that. You know what I mean? I'd spend like I'd have to go from like Chelmsley Wood to like Woodbourne Priory at the top end of the Aggie Road. So it'd take like 3/4 of an hour on the bus into the city centre. Then I'd bomb about in town and have a coffee and that on my own. Do you know what I mean? There weren't many people around then. Do you know what I mean? On my own, or meet the odd person. And that was when I learnt about gambling. Because I never got into gambling really, but I got into a little bit, like the odd tenner, doing blackjack. But I couldn't afford a tenner, do you know what I mean? And then my mate leant over to me the one day, he was flat out on him, and he went, he says, the problem is with these video games, gambling games, he says they're like the crack cocaine of the gambling world, just one more. And it just one more tenner, and it resonated with me, and I put it down then, I put them down. So I'd just be dossing about in town and then get to where I go, do you know what I mean? Like it weren't like, do you know what I mean, getting lifts here. I used to get a lift home off my closest friend in recovery, Malcolm. He used to drop me home every night, do you know what I mean? Like, he's a successful businessman. But he used
common in recovery, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
So he used to drop me home. So I'd go to college. So I did so from January till September, it was just bumming about in NA and all that kind of stuff. And then in the September, then I went to college. And it was a city in guilds. It was called Advanced Media Techniques. It was about filmmaking, radio broadcast, magazine design, photography, and journalism. And I did that course for a year. And then after the course, because I didn't know where I got, I didn't know that I'm a good salesman, that I've got a good blagger. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know that I had any of that. And my tutor turned around to me at the end of that year and he went, I've never met anybody like you 30 years of teaching. He said, if you haven't got your own film production company within a year of leaving here, there's something seriously wrong. Do you know what I mean? And I walked away from that at the end of term with a bit of self-worth, a bit of self-esteem, do you know what I mean? And then I was booked in then for the next year, so I left in May, and then for the following September I did a HND. So I did a HND, media techniques. Do you know what I mean? And kind of the rest. And then I completed that. So I did a HND. In my first college course, I didn't know, like the tutor come up to me and he went, he said, you're really doing yourself a disservice. I said, what's that? And he said, you wouldn't know what a deadline was if a deadline come up and punched you in the face and said, hello, I'm a deadline. He said, you wouldn't even, he said, but you're not getting the marks that you should be getting because you're handing, because I used to go to him, oh, is that alright? And he'd go, yeah, you're going to hand it in. I'd go, no, I just told you, is it alright if I hand it in tomorrow? And he'd go, well, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, but when I did my HND, I cottoned on to getting stuff in on there on time. So I was getting really good marks. So that entitled me then to do a degree. But in the meantime, after that first year, when I walked away in the summer, I set up in 2010. I set up a community interest company called Eyesore Media, which is a film production company, which then morphed into a training company as well. So I was making films for like the Birmingham City Council, Drug Services, and for the probation service and all that kind of stuff. So I was doing that, I was networking, I was getting involved in the third sector. At the same time, I was still going to college and going to uni. Do you know what I mean? So I'd go and do networking events while I was at college and all that kind of stuff. And I was making films. And then I ended up writing with my sister, because my sister's a teacher. We sat down and we wrote a filmmaking workshop. And that was again off what I'd learnt in NA. Like I was going to area and I was on the bus and I was like, I've got no kids, I've got no like kind of professional people around me. how am I going to make it? I've been learning this new language about, you know, income streams and spreadsheets and you know, sustainability, and I was learning this new language, and then as I was going into area, there was a guy there the whole time talking to a newcomer, and he went, how long you been clean? And the newcomer was like kicking his toes on the phone, I've only been 7 days. He went, only 7 days? Only 7 days? He said you could have, he said you didn't get right on to be 7 days, 7 days ago. He says you've got to tell people, I'm 7 days.
Yeah.
You can teach somebody that's just walked through the door how to get 7 days.
Yeah.
You can teach somebody with 6 days how to get 7 days. So don't sit there and go, oh, only 7 days. And as I walked past that conversation, I thought, I've only been doing this filmmaking for 18. I've been doing this filmmaking for 18 months.
Yeah.
And then I was being taught I can only keep what I've got by giving it away. And I thought, how can I give this away? What I've learned over the past months, how can I give that away? So I sat down with my sister and wrote an 8-week filmmaking workshop. So using the skills that I'd learned, I then started and applied for funding and that, and I was teaching filmmaking, which then morphed into teaching filmmaking in prison, which morphed into teaching filmmaking
Morphed
in prison
into that.
with a set of keys
An OBE.
for a prison that I'd actually been locked up in.
So you're awarded an OBE for services
For
to...
my services to
That's remarkable, isn't it?
What was Prince Charles like?
that was lovely. I really felt listened to.
Yeah.
Well, he weren't rushed, or he laughed at me joke when I told him.
He never looks in a rush, does he, old Charles?
No.
But do you know what though? Like, it was really, I don't know, it's his
I
job
bet he's in a rush to get
do
to the
that.
throne.
I know it's his job to do that, but I really felt listened to him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't
Awesome.
rushed, and he wasn't, do you know what I mean? It was really
Absolutely
nice.
brilliant.
So that's Jace from Smackhead, Burglar
Yeah.
to OBE.
Well, this is what I'm saying now. So when I carried on from that, so my thing then was I did a degree. So I did so I got a first class honours degree, and then I took a year off, and then I did a master's degree, and I got a distinction master's. Just after I got my master's, I won the Mayor's Award in Solihull, which is like the equivalent to the keys to the town, freedom of the town. And then I was told that it was a springboard into an MBA by a lady, like a character. She went, hey Jason, you didn't know that this is a springboard into an MBA. And I'm like, yeah. And then I was watching New Year's Honours, Queen's Honours, and it was like 2 years out, and I thought, yeah. And then next thing you know, we've come back off holiday, and the letters on the thing, and which really did me head in because I had to keep it a secret.
Yeah.
And as you all know me, do you know what I mean? Oh, it killed me. It killed me. I couldn't say anything to
How great is this, man?
Yeah, it's a great...
His achievements
and
are the best.
then we had to wait then because then COVID.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to go on the 26th of March down to Buckingham Palace. And the 24th of March they locked down the whole of the country, so we couldn't even go. So I had to wait for 2 years.
Yeah, like when it's supposed to happen, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a really fantastic story. Thank you, Jace, for coming on and,
Yeah.
and speaking so honestly and openly. I think should we wrap things up there? Are you happy with that? I think that went really well.
Before you do,
Go on.
there's just the only kind of thing that around kind of recovery and all that kind of stuff. So I listen to a lot of audio books, and I listen to the doctor. Well, I listened to a comedian who was friends with the doctor that was on Oprah, you know, Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And this comedian went to Dr. Phil and said to Dr. Phil, "Oh, my son's got, we think he's got, you know, like kind of, he's got self-esteem issues or self-worth issues. You know, what is it that we can do or say that will kind of like help him with that?" And that Dr. Phil, I'll never forget it. I just think it's great what he said. He turned around and he said the best thing for self-esteem and self-worth is complete what you start. So if you're going to start something,
make sure you finish it.
complete it.
Yeah, I agree.
Complete it. You know, you're going to get a sense of achievement at the end of it. Do you know what I mean? You're going to get something out of it. It's a learning experience. Recovery now for me is about, it's not about, when I was flat out, it was about short term, it was about instant gratification, it was about kind of, you know, no, me, I want it now. Now it's about the long, not long game, It's the long game.
Yeah.
The long game. What am I going to gain? What am I going to gain up there? And just kind of, you know, I know we kind of say to people, you know, we've got to be able to keep it in the day and keep it in the day. But you've got to make plans. You know, what is it for me when I first got clean?
Goals. Goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My goal was when I got out of rehab, about, I don't know, when I knew that I was going to this college course, my goal was to get a degree.
Yeah.
And the reason I wanted the degree, and it's probably a mad way of thinking about it, but my parents held value to academia, because my sister got a degree years ago, like 1988. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, 19.
Whatever you can use as drive.
And that's what I did it for. I just thought,
these are the benefits.
this is what my mum and dad are going to see me in a cap and gown. But I've smashed her one now, and my sister's one. Do you know what I mean? I've actually had 3 cap and gowns and an OBE.
That's amazing. So we'll wrap it up, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Been great.
So if anyone out there who is struggling with any addiction related issue, please make contact with us, which you can do on our Facebook, on our Instagram, and you can also like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
I've done that already.
Yeah, which we need more people to do.
Our Facebook and Instagram is the Dynamo Project, yeah?
Yeah, so just search Dynamo Project on Facebook, and our website is still being constructed. It will be completed soon. So that'll be another way you can make contact with us, and of course we'll update everybody on our social media things. Like I said, I'm going to view 2 commercial properties tomorrow, which will hopefully be our day centre, so I'll be sure to update people on the progress of that. So yeah, be happy to wrap things up. Thank you, Jace.
Cheers.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
And good luck with the project.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.